Hi, AP teachers. My name is Tim Moxey, and I am going to give you my little sales pitch on why I think you should use the letter, especially earlier in the year, to give your students a better sense of that relationship between audience and speaker. So, start with three areas of focus. First, why I think it's great is that the letter, unless you're talking about an open letter, which we're not, is has a one-to-one speaker to audience ratio, and this is important I found for high school students because, of course, we know, and we were probably the same way, they tend to think of themselves as the center of their own universe. So when you're trying to introduce analysis, they believe that everything that's written is written to them and that they are the audience. And certainly that's not true always. And it's not true in a letter when you have one speaker writing to one audience and one person audience, and that puts it in a context, which is how we want them to see writing. And related to that, there seems to be a power imbalance in a letter, whether the writer has the power or the writer is writing to someone of power. It's often imbalanced, and that means that the writer of the letter has to do something to level that playing field. If he or she wants the receiver to listen. And certainly true in a lot of the letters that we see, which are advice letters. We get advice, we tend to react, we don't want to hear it, so the writer has to do something to make us listen. And that's a real good area of focus for them because it results in the writer having to make choices, which is where we want to be. It's also related to that, I think, is this idea of formality, subtlety. Many of the letters that I use, and even the letters that you see on the exam, are pre-20th century letters, and they sound different. They look different. Our students live in a tweet world, which there's not a lot of room for subtlety in those. And I think it's incumbent upon us to teach them that. And the letter is a great, especially these older letters are a great place for that. It may take you some time, and certainly it's something, the complexity of which is a bit of a battle, but it's worth it. So if you think about teaching with the end in mind, this is a prompt that I would like to use where I want them to be able to get to. And it doesn't take much to change. You have to adjust the language here and change that, of course, to the standardized choices. But this is a letter from George Eliot in 1866, writing to a woman who has written to her, and she is responding to that, and she talks about what it takes to be a writer. And if you just take a quick look, and I'll stick this whole letter at the end of this for you, but if you take a look at that first paragraph, you'll see that the first thing that she does is level that playing field. Hey, I don't usually respond to letters, but your letter was so good. Let me tell you, that's why I am responding. And how do you get there? If that's where we want to end up, well, again, this will be a lightning round here. The first five are things you probably already do in any unit. I like to focus on the final three that I've used that have been good for getting students to a place where they can analyze that letter, and also just from their own engagement. Since a lot of the letters we're looking at are veiled and have subtleties, and it's something they're not used to, once they think they have it, I'll ask them to write a letter that is veiled. Pick somebody you really are angry with, but has power over you, and write them a letter, getting that across, but veiling it. And they have a lot of fun with that. And then we read them out loud, and they realize how hard it is to do. Certainly, you want to put some restrictions on there. You don't want them writing about the math teacher next door, and you get in trouble. The tweet summaries have been effective as well. They're a lot of fun. And I think if you take some of those long letters and then ask them to, in 140 characters, get across not only the content, but the tone, you'll learn a lot in a quick, fun exercise about how much they're actually taking with them and understanding. And don't forget the hashtag. Hashtags are fantastic. And then the last one came about because I wanted them to write on that letter that I showed you, the prompt from 2001, but I forced it on them too soon. And so as a class, it didn't turn out so well. So instead of a straight revision, I asked them to instead consider what must the letter have been that Pierce wrote to Elliot that caused her to respond, and then to write that letter, and that forced them into looking at the specifics of the letter, and that became the revision. So that turned into a real good exercise, and then pick something else as your final summative essay. I'm going to put this down here for you so you can see the whole letter, and you can pause it and take a look at that. And that's the end of my lightning unit on letters. I hope it's been helpful and you can pick out something you can use. And if not, send me a letter. That was corny. I know. I had to do it.